Whew. Well, thank you for being flexible, everybody. Appreciate that. Item 15 is a report of the accreditation team to Alameda County Office of Education. We have the consultant team. They get two. Dr. Timothy Weeks and Hart Boyd will present the item. And joining them today is team lead Dr. Melissa Metz-Hall and institutional representatives Derek Gorshow, Program Director of Credentials, and Kristen Bijur, Chief of Educator Effectiveness. Anyone need to recuse himself? Right, seeing none. Dr. Weeks, would you please begin? Or Dr. Boyd, whoever would like to lead.
Yeah, okay. It's me. Good morning, committee members. The provisional site visit to Alameda County Office of Education took place from December 4th through 6th, 2023. The visit was conducted entirely by video technology via Zoom. A total of 74 interviews were conducted with various individuals throughout the site, and despite being conducted entirely online, the visit proceeded in accordance with all normal accreditation protocols. As a reminder to the COA on the process for provisional site visits, which take place during stage 5 of the initial institutional approval process, we can think of stage 5 PSV as a truncated version of years 5 and 6 of the 7th year accreditation cycle. Alameda County Office of Education submitted their responses to preconditions, program review, and common standards in the year leading up to the provisional site visit. And those submissions were reviewed by the members of the provisional site visit team and coordinated by Hart and I. Alameda County Office of Education responded to all feedback on those submissions and worked with Hart and I to prepare for the provisional site visit over the last year. Alameda County Office of Education is now in the final steps of the initial institutional approval process, and after today's vote, the institution will either remain with the COA for follow-up or will move before the commission for consideration of full institutional approval. I will now turn it over to Hart to finish the introduction of this item.
Thanks, Tim. We primarily worked with the program coordinator for both programs, Derek Gorshow, over the past year to complete all required submissions and prepare for the site visit. Derek was great to work with, and he worked diligently in preparation for the visit. The new Chief of Educator Effectiveness, Kristen Bijur, also joined the process in the months preceding the visit, and she contributed valued perspective and experience to the process. Again, both Derek and Kristen have joined by Zoom and are available to answer any questions that the COA might have. Also joining by Zoom today is our team lead, Dr. Melissa Metz-Hall. Melissa was an absolute joy to work with and was a fantastic leader throughout the process. We would also like to thank our site visit review team members for contributing their time and expertise to this visit. That was Celia York, Bridget Mont, and Crescentia Thomas. I'll stop now and turn it over to Dr. Metz-Hall, who will present the findings and the accreditation recommendation. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Good to see you, Alameda County folks, Kristen and Derek. Committee members, co-chairs, again, it is my pleasure to be here and give you just a little bit of contextual information. You have the full report. There's quite a bit in there. I want to connect to what Hart mentioned with Kristen coming on, and I know she'll give you the facts, the absolute date, but I think it was just a few months before the visit. And prior to that, as you know, Derek was leading that charge. We think about this notion, I want to bring this forward, this notion of the word yet. When we think about, if we know Dweck's work and we think about growth mindset, it's this notion that in time I will have this, I'm just not there yet. And continuous improvement, even when we think that we're there, we ask ourselves, what could we do better? If we have survey information, for example, and we're satisfied or we're happy with those responses, we might say, okay, am I asking the right questions? Should I change those questions as our context changes? So I think that's where we found ourselves for this visit, is that context had changed. And for the positive, this was a provisional visit, so the programs had not been in place for all too long. We have, as you see, starting off on the first page of the report, we have some inconsistencies, some met and some met with concern across both the programs and for the common standard level. I want to thank our leads. I want to thank my team. We were, as you heard, and as you might imagine, very, very diligent in making sure we could hear from everybody and look at every source, every data source that we could. And of course, you have those referenced on, I think it's page 5 of the item. We heard the beginning, and that's why I wanted to bring up this word of yet. We have the beginning of a team of teams that are working and providing input. District leadership, the superintendent and Kristen getting out to every district that is served and hearing from them, and then not yet quite being able to implement everything that they've heard. That's a process. So the recommendation is accreditation with major stipulations. We did try and, we spelled out with the stipulations where that was really coming from, if it was common standard or if it was common standard and perhaps maybe it was also connected to a program standard. And our intent with that is so that we can all fully understand what was it, what is it, and how we're going to move forward. So that's that continuous improvement. And I will say beautifully, that mindset and that embracing of that understanding was just evident throughout the whole visit. And Kristen, you really, just in our conversations and how you approached and the questions that you asked of us so that you could understand, we know that that's what you're thinking about. You're thinking about, well, what could that look like? What can it look like? So what I would like to do is make the recommendation and allow as much time as possible for Kristen and Derek for you to be able to maybe address questions. But again, committee COA members and co-chairs, our recommendation is accreditation with major stipulations. And I will hand it back to the COA members, I'm sure, for comments and questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Metzall. At this point, I'm going to invite Erin Sullivan just to kind of discuss the process of where we are in the program here.
Thank you, Chair Farley. So just as a reminder to the COA, and because we have some newer members, this institution is a provisional institution. That means it went through 3 stages with the commission, at which point it came to you in stage 4 to have these 2 programs approved. And then they were sent off basically to go and operate these programs for a period of, actually on page 9, it discusses it because the programs came in just about a year out of sync. So one program operated for 3 years and the other one operated for 2. So this is appropriate. After that period of time that the institution operates the programs, which by the way is set by the commission, they have to host this provisional site visit. So then a year ago, so this is a little bit new. So even for our older members, this is just a reminder. About a year ago, we changed this process in stage 4 so that if an institution has any significant stipulations or any stipulations at all, rather than what you used to do, which was to vote to send the institution forward to the commission, since this is the body that the commission has appointed to work with these institutions about accreditation and understand stipulations and how those are addressed, et cetera. Instead, what you do now is you basically hold on to this institution while they address the stipulations for a year. And at the end of that year, so far, most institutions have met their stipulations, and you have then been able to recommend that this accreditation system go to the commission. So staff would take it then. So just as a reminder, kind of what you're voting on today is if you accept this recommendation, this institution will continue to stay with you and will remain in its provisional status until such time as they address the stipulations to your satisfaction and you can send them to the commission.
Thank you, Ms. Sullivan. Anyone have any questions regarding the process with, Member Hillis?
Yeah, Aaron, does that include then the quarterly reports leading up to the year?
Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Right, any other questions? Okay, we now invite the institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. We remind you it's not a time to dispute the team's report, but rather provide any thoughts that you have about the visit itself.
Well, I have to say that I greatly appreciate the opportunity to have the site visit team come evaluate the good work we're doing, and also to provide guidance so that we could continue to improve our programs. I appreciate the relationship that we have with the committee and the commission. We're interested in having continued success with our programs and hope also to grow additional programs in the future. And so we're committed to making sure that our educators are prepared and that we have systems in place to engage both our external partners and work internally to make sure that we're looking at the data to have positive and ongoing results for the people in our programs.
I would just
Great,
add
thank
that
you.
as, oh, I'm sorry. I would just add that as new, as
No.
somebody new to ACOE, and having come from another district where there were educator and leader preparation programs, I 100% embrace and align with the stipulations that the site visit found, and we're hard at work over here, starting to work on addressing our stipulations. So thank you very much, Melissa, and the rest of the team.
Thank you for your comments. We appreciate that. Committee members, any opportunity for you to make any comments, questions that you have? Member Gracia.
Just a quick question, clarification. So in the body of the report, is it on? Okay. So in the body of the report, we have, or there's this suggestion about the year reports that come. Shouldn't that be in the actual heading of the recommendation? Because right now it says recommendation for with major stipulations. And shouldn't it say along with the annual reports? Just clarifying.
The accreditation recommendation is just focused on accreditation, and typically the reports, wherever they come in, is part of the drafted stipulations language.
It is a stipulation.
It's a stipulation,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so it does not need to be. In
No, I think you may be thinking about when we do have accreditation with a 7-year report.
Mm-hmm.
However, anytime there is major stipulations, the 7th year report is included. It goes without saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Automatic, it just
So
happens.
it doesn't land in the, yeah,
Okay.
recommendation language.
No, yeah, thank you for bringing that up. Member Hillis.
Yeah, I'm just curious regarding Common Standard 4 with the continuous improvement. And I'm just curious, like, as you're beginning to think through this next year, if you have any preliminary thoughts on how to create a more robust continuous improvement system.
Yeah, we have a newly formed team. Derek will be leading in the future the CTE program. I'm hiring somebody to lead the Clear Administrative Services Credential Program. And right now we're in the process of identifying the data sources from each program that we will be using to fuel our continuous improvement program that are both assessing implementation and impact. And my thought as the team leader is to kind of be calendaring out at the team meeting, in the team meeting cadence of the year, opportunities when we're going to be collectively looking at those data points, and engaging in some plan, do, study, act around what is the data telling us that's working, what's the data telling us that's not working relative to our intended outcomes for each program, and kind of be using the team sort of as a collective space to be doing those plan, do, study, act cycles using the data from both programs. That's my thinking.
Thanks.
Thank you. Co-Chair Tchaikovsky and then Member Hillis.
Yeah, I was also going to highlight that Common Standard 4, especially as you're making major changes in building things. It seems like that's the bedrock. It's kind of where everything else originates. And then given that you have 140 candidates now, and you had 43 completers last year, that suggests to me that your program is increasing in volume. So maybe it's like a P equals MV kind of physics situation. Like you've got to get things going in the right tangent line or you're going to go off the track, right? So I think that that's my concern, is whether you have the collective capacity to actually take those people where they need to be, because there's a lot of stipulations at the beginning of this report.
Yeah, I'll just maybe, I don't know, maybe this is clear or not clear. I'm not sure, but our it used to be Derek running basically both of our programs by himself. And since July, we've now added, like, we've become a whole team. I was hired, like, there are a whole bunch of other people from the organization that were moved to rally around Derek to become a team. So I just lovingly and humbly offer my gratitude to Derek for managing this by himself. And as you're pointing out, these are not programs that can be run by one person alone. So the new superintendent recognized that and has definitely resourced this in a different way than was resourced before. And I am building a team to be able to handle that volume of candidates, and not only handle them, but prepare them well for being teachers and for being effective leaders.
Thank you. Member Hallis, pardon me.
Howdy. So I know as newer programs, all of these things had to have been in place during your initial submission, right? They were there on paper to be approved. But obviously in the implementation the last little while, and maybe you alluded to it in your last answer, the implementation maybe didn't happen as envisioned. Can you talk a little bit about maybe where those gaps were that you've already identified?
Well, I think that, as Kristen mentioned, there were not sufficient resources dedicated to ensuring that all aspects of both programs were running perfectly. And now there has been a change in leadership, and an embrace of these programs, and that's the difference, and that's what's going to make the difference in the future.
All right, thank you. Any other committee member have any comment or question? All right, seeing none, this is
sorry. I just to in the spirit of like specific reports that I think Member Creation might have asked about already. Is the recommendation, if we approve the recommendation as written, would we expect quarterly reports, or would we expect under what frequency? Or
I think
because waiting a year is,
but we can. But
I would assert is.
I believe we have
recommended for quarterly reports.
Perfect. Good. Sorry, I didn't.
That's okay.
Good.
Yeah, I didn't call it out, so I apologize. But yes, we have that in the stipulations.
Right.
It is number 7.
Number 7. Thanks. Quarterly progress.
And in particular, they even pull out what they want to see in that first one. And you of course could add to that, but that it says, in addition, there's a certain thing that they're asking for with respect to the career tech.
Right, and
so having read that,
there is one CTE standard that wasn't addressed, and so as a result, every substandard beneath it is also not. So that kind of expands. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Member Taylor.
Just a comment to the team, to reiterate comments made by committee member Kachowski and Harris. The importance of Common Standard 4, as someone who has been in charge of a significantly sized teacher preparation program, continuous improvement is the bedrock of any educator preparation program. And so urge you to really sort of pour over that and come up with a comprehensive unit-wide continuous improvement plan.
Noted. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Is there a way to focus the first quarterly report on that? And again, I apologize if that's already clearly articulated.
I don't think it is. So I think you could certainly adjust the stipulation.
Yep.
Well, I would just, I think, in the spirit of trying to make things better and help you accelerate the progress you're obviously trying to achieve, I think knowing where you want to go and having some goals and as you've articulated, what's the data set that you envision collecting and assembling? I think having that on hand would be helpful to you moving forward.
So, I'll come back to that in just a second. Member Cervantes.
Yeah, no, to echo and sort of follow up on that, you also got standard 11, and I would go standard 4 and 11 and make that the immediate focus, because that's where you're not meeting anything. And to the co-chair's point, is it starts to move you in that direction. In the other areas, I almost feel like even this using education technology can help amplify the other areas and improve them as such. So that's the way I would go.
So then if that's something you'd like to see, remember, check out our co-chair Tchaikovsky, you can go ahead and make a motion, adding that into the motion itself.
Okay, so that would be a motion to accept the recommendation of accreditation with major stipulations to include a first quarterly report focused on standards 4 and 11. Common standards. Yeah, common standards. Program standard 11 and common standard 4. Yeah? Question mark? To be followed by 3 additional quarterly reports as articulated.
So to staff, is that clear? But there, okay, everyone clear? That's what the motion is. So is there a second or any
Second?
Second by Member Taylor. Any further discussion? All right, so let's do a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. So adding that the quarterly report, and I would echo the sentiment. I think it's really would be beneficial knowing that you have some additional people who are involved rallying around Derek, and I think it's something that would be very supportive. So please understand, I think you do already, that this is all designed to support the program to help move in the direction that we know you want to be. Dr. Weeks.
I just had one question for clarification.
Sure.
So in addition to Common Standard 4 and Program Standard 7, will we still have items 6 and 7?
11.
11?
Yeah.
Will we still have items 6 and 7 in the first quarterly report, or just those 2 standards?
What do you mean, item 6? They mean,
Okay, so we would still.
Well,
Yeah.
but
all the
in the
stipulations.
recommendation or for the stipulations that are noted in here, it's specific to the collaboration with employers
Right.
for the CTE program in the first quarterly report.
Right.
Right.
So those will still
In
be
addition to.
They will still be
Okay.
dealing with that as well.
I'm going to be working with them.
No, I appreciate the question, the clarification. Absolutely. Okay, we still need to vote, right? Okay. All right. So any other discussion? There was a second. We had, okay. Taylor was second. Tchaikovsky was first. All right. So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries. And again, so thank you for being part of the program, and thank you for your willingness and desire for improvement. We really look forward to reading the quarterly reports and positive work moving down the road. So again, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Gorsher, Mr. Leisure, Dr. Betzhall, of course, and Dr. Weeks, Mr. Boyd. Thank you all. All right, thank you very much. To the committee members, thank you so much for staying on task and being able to focus through there. We are actually caught up, if not even a little ahead at this point. So if we break right now, you can get to your favorite lunch place before noon. But I think because we worked so hard, let's just come back for the 1 o'clock. We had talked about maybe coming back early. You deserve the time. So let's come back. We do have a time certain at 1 p.m. So enjoy your lunch. I will see you all at 1 p.m.
All right, good afternoon, people. I think we're ready to come back together. Rock and roll. All right, so here we go. We're going to resume this meeting of the COA with item 16, which is the report of the accreditation team to California State University, Fullerton. Consultants Miranda Gutierrez and Timothy Weeks will introduce this item. Joining them today is Team Lead, Dr. James Marshall, and institutional representatives, Dr. Lisa Kurtman and Dr. Kim Case. Anybody need to recuse themselves? All right. Ms. Gutierrez, is there someone? No? All right, Miranda.
Good afternoon. The CSU Fullerton site visit was held virtually on October 8th through the 11th, and the team's work started in the 2 months leading up to the site visit. And that included pre-visit interviews with the program leads and department chairs. It truly was a pleasure to work with this team. We were a large but mighty and productive team. I'd also like to thank our team lead, Jim, for his leadership throughout the visit. And then also a thank you to Dr. Kirkman and Dr. Case, who were incredibly responsive in the months leading up to the visit and especially during the visit. And I will go ahead and turn it over to Tim now.
Okay, thank you, Miranda. As Miranda mentioned, the CSU Fullerton visit was conducted virtually on October 8th through 11th, and a total of 673 individuals were interviewed throughout the site visit. And despite being conducted entirely online, the site visit proceeded in accordance with normal accreditation protocols. I would definitely like to thank our amazing team of 11 program and common standards reviewers, which included Barbara Howard, Lori Kersey-Reed, Jessica Bogdanovich, Jennifer Kurtz, Amber Moran, Dorothy Yang, Samantha Blackburn, James Mitchell, Amy Gamino, Jacqueline E. Romano, and Terry Clark for their dedication and all their hard work to the process before, during, and after the visit. And finally, I would like to thank our exemplary team lead, Dr. Jim Marshall, for his thoughtful leadership that he exhibited throughout the visit and his willingness to make sure that all team members' voices were equally heard. Without that, I don't think this visit would have worked as smoothly. And I thank Dr. Marshall for his leadership, and I will now turn it over to Jim. Thank you.
Good afternoon, COA members, and it's wonderful to see my CSU Fullerton colleagues again here on this occasion. It was a distinct pleasure to lead this amazing team of reviewers. I don't recall in my work with the CTC and all of my different roles I've done over the years having a more productive site visit, including the virtual ones I've accomplished, and the credit for that largely goes to our CTC consultants, their preparation, as well as our CSU Fullerton colleagues. Everybody was in the game to get this done, to understand the programs and thoughtfully reflect on what we saw, and what we saw was excellent. I think that is fully reflected in the report that we filed that I know you've had the benefit of reading, but I'll just briefly mention a few things that stood out to the team. One of the most gratifying things you can see when you go out into the field and view others' programs is an overarching sort of uniting focus of their work, and the reach, teach, impact element of what CSU Fullerton is doing across these programs not only makes sense, but is evident in each of the programs that we looked at. It's not just a credo to aspire to, but it is being lived. And I think to the credit of this institution is the fact that it's not just the College of Education, but given the breadth of the programs, this involves credentials that are housed in the College of Communications, as well as the College of Health and Human Development. And again, there was consistency in things like collaboration among program leadership, faculty, and student advisors. There was shared governance of these programs that was evident across the full constellation of credential programs, and evident throughout our interaction with both the folks that work at CSU Fullerton, including leaders at the college level, program level, and the student level, as well as evident in the employers that benefit from the folks that are prepared in this region by Cal State Fullerton, and the completers, the folks out there on the front lines applying what they've learned in these programs in meaningful ways. So I really want to underscore the success of these programs and almost the ease with which they met the standards to which they're accountable for. I know it's not easy because I do it every day, but it was very simple to appreciate the accomplishments here of these colleagues and also confirm their work in concert with accreditation. As I'm sure you noted, the teacher induction program has undergone a significant change and is more or less a new program here this academic year. And so the only two follow-up items were specific to the teacher induction program, and the result really of just giving the program, as I like to say, time to bake in its implementation. And so as a team, our recommendation to the COA is that our colleagues at Fresno just follow up with a 7th year report, specifically addressing those two items, mentoring, and then the collection of data that they need time to actually put that into practice. And so our hesitation there is not major in any way. It's more that we just recommend giving our colleagues the opportunity to present that evidence once they have it in a 7th year report to confirm that particular element of our work. And with that, I will turn it back over to Tim. And if you have further questions, I'll be here.
Yes, that's the end of our report. Thanks.
All right. Now's the time for institutional representatives to briefly comment about the report. It's not a time to contest the recommendation, but to offer your input.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kurtman. I'm the Dean of the College of Education. And I think I just want to start by saying this is my 3rd accreditation visit since I've been at Cal State Fullerton, but my first as Dean, so it feels like a lot of pressure, but a lot of it was taken off because I want to just say thank you to Kim Case, who was the lead and really ran the entire thing. I really should say thank you to her. I want to say thank you to Miranda and Tim and Jim and his team, because it just made it doable, because they were there to support us throughout the entire process. So I want to say thank you regarding that. I want to say thank you for allowing us to highlight the work that we do with our faculty, staff, students, and community partners for the greater good of the students in Orange County and beyond. And we're very proud of the fact that as a unit, we really believe in just, equitable, and inclusive education. And the team members highlighted it and mentioned it and noted it, and we feel like we are allowed to reflect in this moment, but also realize that we're also making progress that we weren't exactly sure we were making until we had outside reviewers. So we're really proud of it. We acknowledge the 7th year report, and we understand it, and Kim has already taken steps to address that. We have a new coordinator. We've cleaned up a lot of stuff that we felt like it sits outside in extended education for us. And we realized we're just going to have to do a better job of taking control of that, which Kim did. It felt like within a few weeks of the visit, she was already changing things and making sure that we were moving in the right direction. So we feel really good about the visit and the work that we've done and that we will continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you. I guess since you're both in the same room, that means those are your comments. Feel free to speak if you'd like to.
I would just echo what Dean Kurtman just shared, the gratitude for the team. Before Jim was part of the site visit, we worked together for a year with Miranda and Tim, and just the way they made themselves so available, and our regular meetings helped us to feel very prepared. And then, of course, having Jim lead the team on our site visit was a pleasure working with him.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from committee members? Yeah, Member Morrison.
Hey, good afternoon. I'd just like to thank the team, congratulate the team on such a massive undertaking here, just how much work is involved here. In particular, I noticed that you interviewed 673 people, which is incredible. Good work all around here. It's appreciated.
Thanks, Jerry. Anybody else? All right. Do I hear a motion? Yes, Member Taylor.
I move that the Committee on Accreditation accept the recommendation of accreditation with a 7th-year report for the California State University at Fullerton.
Thank you. Member Cervantes, second. All in favor? Passes. Right on. Thank you. Hey, congratulations. Thanks for being here with us. And thanks for everything, all your comments today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic work.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to item number 17 now, which is report of the accreditation team to Grossmont Union High School District. And let's see, we got consultant Gay Roby will introduce the item, and joining her will be Ursula Estradas Ravelas and institutional representatives Dan McDowell, who's the director of learning and innovation, and potentially Mike Fowler. Who do we have here? Let's see. Looks like Ursula. I see you. Hello. I haven't seen you in a while.
Been a while.
Hi, Gay.
Hello. Looks like I'm
And
in
Dan.
Yosemite today. Wow.
Yay. All right. Does anybody need to recuse themselves? Sorry, Cheryl? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're
Good.
about,
That
we're
must
about
be Mr.
15
Fowler.
minutes ahead right now. We're a little early, so folks
Oh,
might be
okay.
scrambling, which is fine.
All right. I don't think anybody's recusing themselves. We're not going to go anywhere. But when we do, Gay, you're on deck.
Should I go ahead and start while or shall we wait for Mike?
I think we should wait for Mr. Fowler, I think. Is that who we're waiting for?
Yes.
Okay. We'll hang out for a minute.
Oh, Bob's always good for a bad joke.
Do not encourage him, Gay.
Trombones.
It's like turning off a faucet that will not turn off. So I don't know if you want to do that. Did I? All right. Did you hear the one about the snare drum and cymbals that fell off the cliff? They don't. That's like a dad joke quality. You know? Right?
The one
That's a
I heard
lazy day.
the one I heard yesterday from a tech guy online while I was waiting was, you know what the farmer said when his tractor disappeared?
No.
Oh, I wonder where my tractor went. It's a non-joke joke.
Right, exactly. All right. Wow.
Save us, Mr. Fowler.
Is he down? Okay. I'll save these for later. All right.
Does anybody know if he's on his way? Sorry.
Yeah, I just texted him. He said he was coming.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. I know we're just running a few minutes early.
Yep.
All right. Any singers in the room? Here we go. How do you know when there's a soprano on your porch? The knock's unsteady. She can't find the key and doesn't know when to come in.
Thought you guys were going to talk about Fullerton more because they have 9,000 programs. So.
I can't imagine doing that many interviews. 600 plus.
You should be logging on right now. I just went and checked.
Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right. Hi, Mr. Fowler, you're here. Hello.
Thank you very much for attending. So I'll go ahead and get started. The accreditation site visit to Grossmont Union High School District, which is located in eastern San Diego County, was held virtually on October the 16th and the 17th, with the summary report being provided to the district personnel at the end of the day on October the 17th. The site visit was conducted by a 3-member team plus myself and hosted by the Human Resources Department of the high school district. The site visit did have one anomaly, which was the necessity to switch state consultants about a month prior to the site visit. And I cannot express enough the graciousness that both the high school district staff and the site visit review team showed in accepting procedural changes, doing things Gay's way instead of the other site consultants. Both groups really did go with the flow for me. They adapted, they brought their best game to the table, and they were able to accomplish the site visit goals. And I thank each one of them for doing that. I would now like to introduce the team lead for the site visit, Dr. Ursula Reveles Estrada, who will present the report, its findings, and the team recommendations. Ursula, take it away.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here with you today. So I would like to take this opportunity to, of course, thank Gay Roby, who did an amazing job as a CTC consultant. As she mentioned, she stepped in quickly when the former CTC rep was assigned and departed to an IHE. And her support to me, the team, and the institution was truly invaluable. I would also like to thank the Grossmont Union High School District, especially Dan McDowell, who manages the induction program, for his ongoing commitment to the candidates that he serves, and of course to the team, which includes Dr. Michael Gomez and Cheryl Dultz. Additionally, the manner in which GUHSD approaches the work is to be commended, specifically related to professional development. So with that, I will go ahead and explain a little bit about the visit. Give me a second as I get my mouse. Okay. So as mentioned, I would like to commend the work that has been accomplished by the Grossmont Union High School District, as they met the majority of standards. Everyone interviewed was so positive about their experiences in the program, and this confirmed not only the value of the program, but also the value of the experiences of the candidates. Their dedication and was noted. However, during our 101 interviews, there was unfortunately insufficient evidence on Standard 3, which is designing and implementing individual learning plans within the mentoring system, in regards to the input being gathered to specifically address the ILP from the employer. The team was unable to obtain evidence that professional learning and support opportunities are included within each ILP. Regarding Common Standard 5, there was no evidence found that the institution gathers information on the impact that candidates in the program have upon student learning. So as mentioned, the visit took place from October the 16th through the 18th of 2023. It was evident that the program is in the very capable hands of the program director, who obviously leads the program there, as well as the lead mentor, who together provided evidence and full support of provided evidence that they have the full support of the district superintendent and cabinet. The program is unique in that it is written into the collective bargaining agreement with 5 members of the association and 5 district administrators who aid in the hiring and reviewing mentor qualifications. And this was a little unique. 3 things that stood out during the visit. Of course, Grossmont Union High School District recently established a partnership with San Diego County Office of Education to gather input and feedback on the induction program. We look forward to hearing about this exciting new collaboration. It was also noted that there were a myriad of responsibilities competing for the program director's attention, and the district's ability to offer professional development that is equity-based can be a challenge during the current political climate. Regarding the findings on the common standards, I know that those were in the report and that you've already seen them, but I would like to briefly review them. Regarding Common Standard 1, that was met with concerns. Regarding Common Standard 2, candidate recruitment and support, that was fully met. Common Standard 3, course of study, fieldwork, and clinical practice was met as well. As Common Standard 4, continuous improvement was met. There were concerns for Common Standard 5, so the formal indication is met with concerns. And then regarding the program standards we just reviewed their teacher induction program. That is the only program that they offer. There was a concern regarding 1 common standard. So with that, it is our recommendation to the Committee on Accreditation that we have an accreditation with stipulations as noted on page 3 of the report. And the stipulations are as follows: that within 1 year of this action, the institution must submit written documentation to the team lead and commission consultant documenting all actions to remove the stipulations noted, that the institution provide evidence that it ensures that program leaders and instructional personnel regularly and systematically collaborate with colleagues in P-12 settings, college and university units, and members of the broader educational community to improve educator preparation. That the institution provide evidence that the unit and its commission-approved programs demonstrate that they have a positive impact on teaching and learning in California schools. That the institution provide evidence that during the ILP development process includes input from the employer regarding the candidate's job assignment. And finally, that the institution provide evidence that professional learning and support opportunities are included within the ILP document. I welcome any questions from the COA.
Thank you. Now we invite institutional representatives to briefly comment about the visit. Remind you, this isn't a time to dispute the team's report, but rather to provide any thoughts you've had.
All right, I'll start off. And first, I want to say a big thank you to Ursula, Mike, and Cheryl, the visiting team, for Gay coming in. And it was a little bit of a scramble in that last month after Michelle departed. And Michelle was a great partner as well to kind of align to how Gay was running her visit. And I think everything came together really nicely. I really appreciated the opportunity to reflect on the program and where we were. You know, I came in 5 years ago, the year COVID hit us, and I had to rework the whole program because we were still operating under the previous standards. And so then we went into emergency mode with COVID for a couple of years, and this really gave us that opportunity to reflect on the changes that I intended to make and how they ended up manifesting during distance learning and all that. And as a result, we were able to, you know, fine tune some of the things, and the stipulations I think are going to help us make our program better. We've really already addressed all of them in some way, or at least have a plan to how to address all of them in place. And I look forward to, you know, probably over the summer, writing up the report to share with Ursula and Gay, so we can get that box checked and move forward and, you know, set a strong foundation for the program to continue to grow. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Mr. Fisher? Oh, sorry, Mr. Fowler, my bad.
No apology necessary. Just a simple thank you. I guess I'd like to express my appreciation to the team and really the process. I think any healthy organization strives to establish a culture of continuous improvement, and the value of this visit and the input that we received certainly is helping us improve. And like I said, we have embraced these stipulations, and again, I just thank the team for providing, a bit of a roadmap for us as we continue into the future. The induction program is a source of great pride for us here at Grossmont Union High School District. That said, we acknowledge that we can always improve, and so looking forward to putting those things in place. And thank you.
Thank you. Members of the committee, any comments or questions? Yes, Member Hillis.
I'm just curious if you could share with us a little bit about what you're thinking regarding that positive impact in terms of how you're going to assess that.
So the initial piece that we're working on is we're going through and tracking all of our candidates as they go through the program, and then tracking them 3 years after they finish the program to A, see if they're still in our district, and then B, if they're not in our district, to look to see if they're still within the teaching profession. And we are we actually have we're going to be beginning to collect personal emails in the the onboarding process. So if they do leave our district within that first 5 years, we'll be able to track or reach out to them to see if they're still in the profession, so we can see at 5 years out, every time a group is 5 years into the profession, how many of them are still teaching. And we're also pulling in more principal feedback on the program, on impact on their individual schools. We actually started that last year, but it was not as defined as we're going to make it from this point forward. And I'm also continuing to look at other programs to see how they do this particular thing. I've had already a discussion with our San Diego County group around that, and no one, that's something that was a little vague for some of the other groups as well. So we're going to discuss this in our next meeting as well, so we can sort of all be on the same page on types of things that would address this in a way that is useful, right? And we'll make sure that we're hitting the compliance piece of making sure we're doing it as well.
Yes, Member House.
Howdy, good afternoon. In your work around maybe refining the ILP, how might you be involving both candidates and mentors in what you're doing with that?
Oh, we do tons of feedback. We do surveys at first semester, end of second semester each year. So really, a candidate will have 4 opportunities to comment. I also have mentors as well. And I also have a group of mentors who are sort of like an unofficial advisory panel, I'll call them, that we bring all the documents together that we use to guide through the program. And we let them review and give feedback, especially after they've gone through it once with the candidates. My lead mentor is also a different title says it. She's also a mentor. She has candidates of her own. So she is always like keeping that lens on throughout the process. And the one piece, the one finding around professional development, not in the ILP, well, it was in another document. So that's sort of a technical thing that we're embedding it into the ILP, going forward. And so that one in particular is something that's already resolved. It'll roll out next year with the new version of the program. So that piece will be involved, as well as the getting principal, employer input on the goal. We're building that into the ILP as well. So both of those items from the program standards, we've already addressed, and more technical than we weren't doing that as well. We weren't doing that stuff at all. So
thank you. Just to follow up on that question, are your ILPs, Mr. McDowell, are those electronic documents that could be embedded with hyperlinks
Oh
to
yeah,
these
yeah.
various
They're all
pieces of
Google.
text?
Yeah, they're all Google Doc based. One of the advantages I think I've had coming into this role is I was our instructional technology director before our director of learning and innovation, and Google is my jam. And so I was able to bring a lot of those the technical piece of it into this role to help create a system that it all works together. So we have a lot of, the documents are all Google documents, that are created for the candidates, and they are supposed to link them in between. And there was, again, this piece, they weren't linked quite in the way that made it apparent that they were connected. So, but that's something, like I said, we're addressing.
So now you just have to train the AI bot to hunt
Right?
and gather, right?
That's coming. That's coming.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
I was just going to comment on the fact that your process for selecting mentors is part of your collective bargaining agreements, and it's something that you do with the teachers union. That's the first time we've heard that here. We talk quite a bit about the importance of mentors and the best way to recruit them, and what a revolutionary idea! Get other teachers to pick the best teachers to do the job. So nice one there. I'm going to tell everyone I can about that.
As long as your program doesn't become a bargaining chip. Just saying.
Let's not.
Be careful.
Let's save that for another time. But thank you.
In solidarity, Member Morrison.
And let me just throw in, there's pros and cons to that. So so it is good to get that input, but it's a balance, it's a dance. I also serve on the bargaining team for the district for working with the association. So there are people I engage with in other arenas as well.
And if I might add, it's we have a very good relationship with our union's leadership team, and this idea of principal input on these ILPs, and that can be tricky about who those principals talk to. Do they talk to the mentor teachers? Do they talk directly to the candidates? How is all of that going to work? And so we've already, after our visit, have had those conversations with the union leadership about, the principals' interactions with both the candidates and the mentors, and it's been positive in that light.
Awesome. Seeing no other comments, let me just ask a question. I noticed that the recommendation from the team is for accreditation with stipulations, and among those is within a year, certain things will be reported back to us. Should I understand that to mean like in the form of the 7th year report? Or
yes, that's exactly right. So when there's stipulations, it's automatically a step.
So like within we can expect an update a year from now, right? Okay, cool. Do I hear any motions out there? Yes, Member Hollis.
I move we accept the team's report and the recommendation of accreditation with stipulations for the Grossmont Union High School District.
Seconded by Member Hillis. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Passes. Congratulations, Grossmont. Keep at it. We'll hear from you next year.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ursula and Gay.
Thank you, Dan and Mr. Fowler.
Bye, Ursula. Well, we're a little ahead of the game. What should we do? Are we good? We have our people. Hello. Yay, real people. Exciting. Yes. Okay, well, let's roll then. Item 18, report of the, this is a report of the accreditation team to Elk Grove. Yes, Elk Grove.
Are we still getting there?
Unified School District. Okay, so consultants, Karen Sacramento and Sarah Barwani will present this item. They're joined by team lead Pat Marisich and institutional representatives Jennifer Wilbanks and Elizabeth Steele. Does anybody need to recuse themselves? All right, Ms. Sacramento, you're on.
Thank you. Good afternoon, COA members. It was my pleasure to serve as the co-consultant with Sarah Barwani to the Elk Grove Unified School District site visit, which was held on December 4th through 6th. The protocols for this visit were all in accordance with normal procedures for a site visit and took into consideration very well the additional supports needed for our virtual format. And the team findings were all based on a very thorough review of all institutional program documentation, as well as a wide range of constituent interviews. So I'd like to thank the district representatives for all the work that was done in this regard and for being so proactive and positive to work with all along the way, from our monthly meetings leading up to the visit to the collegial processes that just made working together so enjoyable and ensured a very smooth and successful site visit. So I will turn it over to Sarah for further information now.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon, COA members. I would like to also acknowledge the tremendous program leadership team of Jennifer Wilbanks, Director of Instructional Support, and Elizabeth Steele, Curriculum Specialist of Induction. I would like to acknowledge the extremely hard work and continual professionalism of the site visit team members, Roxana Stern and Heather Redding, and the strong leadership of Pat Marisich as the team lead. Pat led the visit with grace and calm, and her knowledge and guidance for the visit created a strong and enjoyable visit for all. I will now turn it over to Pat to review the program findings.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pat Marisich, and I was the lead reviewer for the Elk Grove Induction Program Site Visit Accreditation Review. First of all, I too would like to thank, first of all, the representatives that were serving on the accreditation team, Roxana Stern and Heather Redding, and many thanks to Sarah and Karen for their support and guidance in the accreditation process. It was really a great visit that we had to the Elk Grove School District in early December. Everyone from the superintendent, Chris Hoffman, the district administrators, the IHE partners, the principals, the mentors, and the beginning teachers were all so cordial and embracing of our team and this process. And so I thank everyone for their just wonderful participation in this review process. And thank you also to Elizabeth Steele and Jennifer Wilbanks for all their hard work. You were really so organized, and that made our job much easier. So thank you again for all your hard work. While on the virtual visit, we had the opportunity to interview multiple constituents who spoke at length about their induction program in Elk Grove. From the interviews, we clearly saw the district vision, which is of continued professional growth within a collegial culture. In Elk Grove, there is a strong emphasis on building relationships within and across the school community, including all those who participate in the induction program, from principal to mentor to candidate to the professional development providers. The constituents described their experience in the induction program and in the district at large as a communal experience. All individuals felt well supported in their roles and felt very comfortable in reaching out to others to provide support. The candidates expressed deep appreciation for their weekly meetings with their mentors and for the close bonds they had developed with their mentors. Elk Grove provides very strong support to both the candidates and the mentors throughout the entire induction process. First, the strong mentor support. The team found through interviews that the candidates and their mentors work together in small groups as well as meet individually on a variety of topics, such as the candidates' ILPs and, of course, those just-in-time issues, as well as the candidates' mental health and self-care. And so we wanted to give a special shout out to that they incorporated that as the social, emotional, and self-care of new teachers as part of their program. Secondly, there is strong program support The coordinator, Jennifer, the coordinator, Elizabeth, with support from Jennifer, are very actively involved in the program. And they ensure that all the candidates are progressing towards program completion. There is also strong district support. The candidates and mentors engaged in high quality professional development offered by the district, both initially and throughout the year. All spoke of the positive impact of the professional development they received on their practice. The professional development providers follow up with participants after their professional development presentations, and they offer to support them individually when indicated or necessary. We thought that this commitment on the part of the professional development providers to go the extra mile was indeed remarkable. It was of great benefit to their new teachers. The theme of the strong support system for candidates and mentors was validated through the surveys and assessments collected by the induction program throughout the year. Our team was impressed by how all stakeholders recognized and valued the importance of the district's induction program in their teachers' development, and the candidates truly valued the strong net of support around them. Again, it was a pleasure to visit Elk Grove Unified School District Induction Program. The site team found that all standards were met, and except for 2 program standards, Standards 4 and Standards 5, which were met with concerns, but our recommendation is for full accreditation.
Thank you for the report. Now it's the time for institutional representatives to share your thoughts with us. Awesome.
I have prepared a thank you list. And I'm going to put our visiting team second because I'm kind of thinking chronological order. I came on to induction leadership about 1.5 years ago, and my cluster colleagues were so genuinely helpful that I'd like to specifically name Christina Richardson and Tammy Patton from COA, who helped me in detail and just-in-time support as if I were the new teacher and they were my mentor, as well as cluster colleague Emily Richards, who runs a consortium in Northern California. Working with Karen and Sarah a year ahead of time made that organization look smooth, but they taught me a lot along the way so that we could be ready for our visiting team, who all together have 100 years of expertise in this field between all of us. And so those eyes deeply looking at our program were able to give us ways to make our strong program even better. And on behalf of our teachers, I'm grateful. I'd like to thank my supervisor and partner in induction, Jennifer Wilbanks, Director of Instructional Support, and the whole curriculum and professional learning team, because they are the professional development providers that you heard about in Pat's comments. They not only provided professional development for our mentors and candidates, but they followed through when they had future just-in-time needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Steele. Ms. Wilbanks, would you like to say something?
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time today. I just want to reiterate the things that Elizabeth said in terms of the people that we work with that support the program and support our teachers, and to thank the team, the visiting team that came in December, because they truly helped us see what we do well and how we can become even better. And we appreciate that. I also want to express my appreciation for the work that Elizabeth does, because she does an incredible job supporting induction and making sure that our beginning teachers have everything that they need. Truly, she supports them from the ground up and does so much for the program. So I just want to offer my thanks for that. And we appreciate your time today, and thank you very much.
Thank you both. Comments or questions from committee members? Yes.
Just a very brief comment. Thank you both for your comments about the efforts that go on behind the scenes. Thank you, Ms. Steele, for coming in person. I understand it's not that far for you, but the fact that you came here with the intent of acknowledging a number of people have helped you through the process, it really says a lot. So thank you for doing so.
I'm
Yes,
thankful
members.
Elizabeth didn't break up that 100 years by person in the tribute.
I was including myself.
Yes, Member Cervantes, what would you like to say?
No, just commending on all the work and the effort. Just to focus a little bit on the two standards that were met with concern. It sounded to me from reading it like the pieces are there, and so perhaps just wanted to give you all an opportunity to share with us how, say, the training and the calibration and the use of the tool with the ILP rubric, how that's going to happen, or how we're going to really flush it out. I've been through these before where maybe I didn't say something that actually does happen. That's sort of where I'm leaning on with that one. And what the second one is, the defensible process of reviewing. I sit on on an induction group, and we got more deliberate about making that happen. Just saying it. Now here's your chance, Aaron, to let us know. Can you just share with us, maybe elaborate a little bit on how y'all are addressing those areas that were met with concern?
Yes, those are very connected. Our training is next week, early February, for mentors to look at the ILP rubric to make sure that we can grade one another's work and not just the group that one person mentors every single week. They can see them making progress, but we wanted a way to make it so that anyone on the team, any of you, any of the mentors could look at their ILP work and see that defensible process. So the training for the mentors is coming up in early February. I'm looking forward to it. And the defensible process is going to partially be at our induction celebration at the end of the year, where instead of sitting with their group members that they're used to every single week, they're sitting with other mentors who have their ILP goals in front of them and can ask them about their action steps that they took toward growth. Additionally, at our mentor meetings, have you ever in the classroom said, everybody pass your paper to the left? We're going to do a little bit of a training that way by having just for that hour or 2 hours, have one additional teacher join the Google Classroom of the mentor group to review their documentation and make sure that all the things in our head make sense on paper.
Okay, so there's been some references to history and 100 years and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if you were around back in the BITSA days, with the BITSA box. I don't know if there were boxes everywhere in the state. We had a little bit. I think I keep light bulbs in mine today. Anyway, there was an event in there which had to do with sorting papers, right? You take a class set of work and then you have good enough, not good enough. And then you take the good enough stack and sort them into 2 stacks, and the not quite good enough into really far behind and almost there. A little activity like that could be handy in this process of determining standards for your ILP and addressing qualitative aspects of the document. So again, you know, we learn from our ancestors and the generations that have come before us. Just another idea for a training that might be useful. Blind papers are handy as calibration tools. Any other comments or questions? All right, am I hearing a motion?
I move that we accept the report from the team for recommendation of accreditation for the Elk Grove Unified School District.
Second, Member Morrison, all in favor? Aye. Yay. Keep doing the good work. Thank you for coming here, and thank you for being here online, people, and coordinating everything. Awesome. Congrats, everybody. Ms. Wilbanks, Ms. Steele, Ms. Marzic, and Ms. Sacramento. All right, we have a 2 o'clock item. And we're running about 5 minutes a little bit ahead. So I guess we just need to see if our people are here. Let's see, we're looking for people from San Francisco Unified. Our next item 19 is a report of actions taken by San Francisco Unified School District to address stipulations. So let's see if we have our people, because we're a few minutes early. Molly Pope, Supervisor, Pathway to Teaching. Aman Falal, Policy and Operations Manager, Pathway to Teaching. Oh, we have our people. How exciting. A full deck of cards. Shall we? Okay. Good. Welcome, everybody. Ms. Sacramento, will you begin, please?
I will again.
What?
Oh,
recusal. My bad. Sorry. Member Hollis, thank you. All right. Now it's time, Sacramento. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon again. This item provides the actions taken by the San Francisco Unified School District to address site visit stipulations, as well as the steps that are continuing to be taken. So staff brought an item to the COA in October on the San Francisco Unified School District's actions and evidence to address stipulations resulting from their May 2022 site visit. As was shared then, staff worked with the San Francisco program leadership in the spring of 2023 going forward, and the required year-out report was submitted to staff last spring. From there, staff started to review and more fully understand factors that have impacted the implementation timeline for our San Francisco Unified to fully address all stipulations. Staff continues to work with San Francisco Unified program leadership to provide technical assistance during this process on both the current program offerings and on fully addressing all stipulations. So the outcome to date of this work is that staff recommends that the Committee on Accreditation move the stipulation A1, which is related to the multiple subject intern program. Staff review confirmed that San Francisco Unified School District provided evidence of matrices explicitly detailing how preliminary teacher candidates will demonstrate through practice and assessment of all the competencies, the teacher performance expectations required of the credential they seek. Actions taken by the institution to address the stipulation include that San Francisco Unified submitted several iterations and revisions of TPE matrices, indicating where candidates would be introduced to, provided opportunities to practice and be assessed on their knowledge of the multiple subject TPEs, which staff review and confirms that all of the TPEs are covered in the program in this way. So based on this, staff recommends that stipulation A1 be removed as addressed. Further, staff recommends that the COA maintains stipulations A2, E, and F, which are related to the bilingual authorization program, that those remain, and that the institution provide an additional information and evidence for consideration at the March 2024 COA meeting, demonstrating that it has fully now addressed all remaining stipulations. Staff is continuing to work with the program staff on these and with now expert reviewers on their submission and review of their evidence as it connects both to these outstanding stipulations and then to recent program implementation changes with the new BILA standards. So this concludes the staff report at this time, and I would be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Sacramento. Now as we invite institutional representatives to briefly comment about the report.
I just want to thank Karen and her team, especially Timothy Weeks, who was really helpful for us in working with us, patient with us as we, our new team, took over and gained competencies around this. And so their patience and their willingness to work with us we just greatly appreciate it. And we are continuing to work around our multiple subject bilingual stipulations as well. And I know, Aman, do you have other thoughts?
No, just the shared sentiment. The team has been really great and helpful in helping us navigate to make sure that we're up to standard and we're serving our future teachers effectively.
Thank you. Comments or questions from committee members? I had one question. It seems like this the work on bilingual standards has been underway for a while. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what you propose in March. I know that at the last commission meeting, data were presented that included a significant increase in the number of bilingual programs statewide that were proposed and approved. So there's a number of programs out there that are meeting alignment with bilingual authorization expectations. So I think that is the missing piece that just needs to get put into place. Do I sort of read that accurately? Yeah, Member Cervantes.
Yeah, I was thinking the exact same thing. And also, I think there's an impetus here to try to provide resources, a toolkit. Not sure if I'm saying this correctly, to sort of support that moving forward. What was concerning for me was that you had, in essence, 4. We only removed 1 stipulation on this, and 3 are sort of carrying forward. I know they're interrelated. I understand that, but how else can we support the work and the progress of the work? Is there someone we could connect folks with? I guess that's where my head's going. Subject content experts, we have them in a lot of our IHEs. I'm just
exactly. I think that's part of what has been taking a while on the bilingual standards, is that we did some review here on the staff level, and then we decided that they really needed to be reviewed by experts in the field. And so we did send them out to some people who were actually on the new bilingual standards panel. So tapping into their expertise to assist and to kind of provide some feedback that could be very useful, hopefully, to San Francisco Unified. So that's in progress right now. I am concerned about the length of time it's taking to address these stipulations. And so I think, and part of that is just the process. Part of that is through no fault of the San Francisco Unified personnel. They're new. These folks have changed. So we are really working, and I'm hopeful that we can bring that to you in March and have that all kind of tied up and done by then. So, and Karen's been working diligently with them. So yeah, the time we like to wrap up the stipulations within 1 year, and we're now going on almost 2. So we really want to address these.
Yeah, and I just want to. Sorry, Karen, go ahead. I wanted just to reiterate that same sentiment that we are very anxious to remove these stipulations and are willing to do what's necessary. And so we're hoping we have all intents and purposes to bring this forth in March, and we will do the work necessary in order to do that. And we're just waiting to get the feedback from the expertise review.
Well, not least given where San Francisco is located and what students are in our classrooms there, right? I mean, that kind of raises the ante a little bit regarding bilingual authorization.
Yeah, and I would just echo both. And I think we were able to bring in experts to really look at this in a deeper way than staff was able to. And that has affected the timeline somewhat, but it has also allowed for a much deeper understanding of how San Francisco Unified is meeting these new standards as well as addressing stipulations. So we kind of have a twofer going because of where this fell in our standards cycle. So we look forward to bringing this forward in March as well.
Well, what a great opportunity for synthesis, right? Any other comments, questions? Do I hear a motion? Yes, Member Morrison.
I move that we accept the team's recommendation to remove stipulation 1A and leave the other stipulations in place for San Francisco.
pending March report, or with the expectation of a March report on said remaining stipulations? Do I have a second? Yeah, Kathy, thank you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Looking forward to March. Thanks for being here, both of you, and Karen as well.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's see. We have a time certain event, the next one for 2:30. So we're a little bit ahead. Could we move some things, perhaps? What do you think, Miss Hickey? Okay.
I just sent him a message. We'll see if he.
Us to go there.
See, I think it was the whole momentum generated by my esteemed colleague over here. We just accelerated. It's like talk of tangent lines and momentum.
And we have David for a little while longer, don't we? So we might as well start with
Well,
David.
let's capitalize on that.
Yes.
And then
do it.
Actually have to
'Cause he
go
has
to a
to
meeting
leave.
in Oakland at 4. So the one update I have for you is that in the governor's proposed 2024-2025 budget, one thing that was mentioned related to teacher preparation was that he's proposing allowing a bachelor's degree from an accredited IHE to count as meeting basic skills all by itself. That's a proposal. That's a proposal. We don't know the details. The details should come out in a budget trailer bill in the next couple of weeks. So once that's out, I will send something to you and to deans and directors with the details. But it may be that legislators may need to hear from stakeholders of why this is a good thing.
So I would assume then that for like a undergraduate integrated program, the current rules would still apply in terms of the basic skills evaluation.
Not if it goes away.
So how would that happen then for an undergraduate program?
So basic skills. Oh, did you want to do it, Jake? Please, I'd love. So basic skills is a requirement for recommending them for the credential, not a requirement for enrolling in the program. So if it's an integrated program, by the time they finish, they'll have BA, which will do basic skills and meet the BA requirement. And then they'll obviously have all the other things.
And this might be a good plug for, there's an item coming before the commission at the February meeting about integrated programs, integrated undergraduate programs, and the subject matter requirement. So be paying attention to that. Jake has worked really hard on it.
So theoretically, that could be bachelor's degree as a double whammy. Do I understand that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Also, just an additional clarification, not only is it only a proposal right now, but if it does come out in a budget trailer bill, that means that it won't pass until, or if the budget passes, right? So it's attached to that. So it would be something that would come later in the year unless someone somewhere decides it's an emergency need and, they could change the bill, but otherwise it wouldn't start until next year.
No, actually, budget trailer bills go into effect immediately.
Well, okay, when I say next year, sorry, I mean next fiscal
Next
year.
fiscal year,
Sorry.
okay.
We work on so many years in
Yes.
teacher preparation, don't we?
Would the rules be retroactive? I mean, it would just be in place now so that anyone who has not been able to pass CBEST or have the coursework, they're good.
So starting like, let's say July 1, if it passes with the budget. Yeah.
Yep.
But if candidates hear this, make sure they understand this is a proposal.
Yes.
Because they take action or inaction a lot of times based on things that may or may not happen.
So in my previous work with colleges of education, it would be very helpful, especially for deans and folks who work in student services, if we always have sort of the bulleted kind of cut to the chase, language. I know you get clobbered in meetings with questions about, is this in, is this out, does this count, is this stipulated? So I don't know. I'm just providing a suggestion if folks can get that kind of you know, correspondence, if you will, where it's abbreviated.
Sure.
We know exactly what's in and what's out, and yeah, it'll save you all a lot of trouble.
So we're on item 22, which is staff reports. We're going to go back in time here in a minute.
Get on the road.
Thank you
Like
for your
we're going
update.
in Oakland at 4.
Do you want me to go next, Cheryl? Okay, because I have a couple that are pretty simple, hopefully. So looking back in time, the commission's December meeting, we did bring an item, David and Cheryl and I, to them to ask them to consider deferring basically all the accreditation activities next year by a year. So just to be clear about that, if you're a visual thinker like I am, and they voted in favor of that. So we're basically taking the entire accreditation system, the whole thing, everybody, whatever year you're in, we're picking you all up and we're moving you out by 1 year. So what that means for green cohort, because they were scheduled to have their site visits next year, is that they will have their site visits in the year following. And we are still working out the logistics of that. We have done a lot of communication. So we released a public service announcement. We released a program sponsor alert. So we released a PSA about it. We wrote a memo specifically for green cohort. We sent that to them. We followed up with some emails. So we've been really communicating to green cohort what this means, because they're in process right now. They submitted program review in the fall. They're still required to submit common standards review this spring. Preconditions are still coming in. So everything that was happening this year, still happening this year. Next year, everything will be put on hold with the exception of submitting data to the accreditation data system, because that's something that we need. We'd like to have that year over year data. So they did approve that. In case you're wondering, what does that mean for the COA? We won't have site visit reports. If you read and I know that you did, your annual COA report, you'll see that there is a lot of work that you do that isn't just site visit reports. Yes, this is a huge agenda, right? This 29 items, this is one of the bigger agendas that I think Cheryl and Michelle have ever put together, there are a lot of site visit reports here, but we will still next year do any revisits that need to happen. Any quarterly reports that come out of this year will still happen, any 7th year reports. So staff will still have a lot of ongoing work with these institutions, and they're still going to be submitting a lot of things to you all. In addition to other things that bubble up occasionally that we have to come to you and ask for you to consider, give us input, make decisions. So, don't exhale too quickly.
Did you mention provisional? I can't remember.
Provisional, yes, sorry. And provisional site visits still have to go forward. Thank you. That was a gentle nudge. For next year, we actually have 8 provisional site visits, which is the biggest number, the greatest number of provisional site visits that we've had yet since we had this new system. So we'll still have all 8 of those because we can't delay their progress. We don't want to delay their progress. So you'll still have lots of work. If you have any questions about that, yeah.
Well, just listening to you talk about this new provisional site visit kind of part of this process, I'm wondering, do you have any means of comparing relative outcomes under this new process, which involves this provisional visit, than previous initial institution approvals? I mean, if you could compare, it's just I guess I'm just wondering, like, from the perspective of the CTC, is it better to do it this way that you've reshaped than it was in the past? Do you have any means of comparing the results of those two processes?
So I'm not going to defer to Cheryl, but if you want to add anything, because she was in her position longer than I've been in my position. So I was a consultant under the old system. But the old system really involved an institution wanting to become part, they answered a few questions we kind of said yes. I mean, it wasn't quite that cut and dry, but it was nowhere near as robust as our current system is. So when you say better, that's a judgment call. that I don't know that I would want to weigh in, but I can tell you that the process that we have right now is incredibly robust, and it's that way because it's what the commission wanted. They said they wanted a little more, they wanted more there. They wanted something to really, you know, kind of bite into and evaluate for these institutions before we just said, yeah, come on in and start offering a program. So it's a great process. Well, now I'm giving you my judgment. Great process.
And I just echo that. I don't know if you recall, but Linda Darling Hammond was the chair at the time, and she was very concerned. And as were other commissioners who said to us, we feel like we're in a corner having to approve programs or approve institutions, because there wasn't enough built into our process to say yes or no. It was sort of, you do it, you get a yes. And so we worked really hard on getting this multi-stage process where the commission gets to take a bite of the apple multiple times before somebody finally gets full approval, which, you know, you could look at it as being onerous or rigorous. You know, I happen to think you know, there's a lot of work involved, but it does give the commissioners an opportunity, many opportunities to say yes or no to an institution. And particularly there's in the eligibility requirements, there is the section on history. And that was put into place. And I can tell you there was at least one institution who backed out once we told them that we'd have to put certain things in that history part. And that was it. Basically, you know, if you're being sued by students left and right, you know, or there's a civil rights case, or there's something against an institution who may be a diploma mill or something like that, we get to bring that forward to the commission and they get to decide yes or no for that institution. That wasn't there before. So it is more rigorous, and it does give them the opportunity, I think, to say, no, we don't think that your vision as an institution or the processes or your history is aligned with where California is going on teacher preparation or educator preparation.
Well, and I kind of like asked the question, not like it was a trick question or anything like that, because clearly, I mean, we support these changes because we support them, right? And we've approved them and commended them, et cetera. It just seems to me that there might be some quantitative measures like stipulations that are assigned to a program that wasn't properly vetted or sufficiently or adequately or extensively vetted, right? But I also think, I mean, I've been around here for a blink, speaking of 100 years, right? That's like our theme, 100 years of solitude at the CTC. No, I don't know, this is like year 6 or 7 for me to be around here. And just in the time I've been here, I think there's been like an embrace of complexity that maybe wasn't even here 7 years ago. I mean, I don't know. And hello, why are we surprised by that, right? I mean, you guys are experts and you learn more about this and you've had a pretty consistent time here. So I don't know, I guess maybe it's time for some narrative research in all your free time. You know, what happens as a group of people leading the fifth, you know, education in the world's 5th biggest economy, you know, determine what it is that young people should know and be able to do, and how teachers should be prepared to deliver that to them. I mean, I don't know. I think it's almost like you can't compare then and now because the parameters are completely different and you're more aware of these things. Like you said, if you're being sued, maybe that wasn't something that was on the horizon 10 years ago. I think there's a lot more litigious kind of terrain that we're facing today. So anyway, I don't know, just something to think about. The process has evolved, but we can't even necessarily compare relative efficacy across time. Yeah, Michael.
So Aaron, assuming I haven't missed an email to the green cohort, one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is that obviously a year, a lot of things change. And so the reports that we submit this fall for 2023, and now we have a visit in 2025, significant things could change. And I'm curious if there is any plan to have like a template of updates, like a mid-year. So I've been telling my folks, I said, we're probably going to have to do a report and a half in preparation for this. Maybe an overstatement, but I'd rather get them nervous. And so I'm just curious if you've been thinking through that with that delay.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And, you know, for folks that are listening from the green cohort, There is an idea. I don't want to say there's a plan yet, but we're aware that by deferring that length of time, I mean, even in the current process, by the time an institution has its site visit, sometimes it's been a year and a half almost since program review. And we ask them now to make sure that they give us some kind of a summary of any changes that have happened since program review. Adding an extra year on that summary might not be sufficient. And it would be very nice. I really like continuity. And while I don't always like templates because that one size doesn't fit all, coming up with a list of questions that we ask folks to respond to that can make it simple for each consultant, regardless of what site visit they're on, to really see, okay, this is what's changed in clinical, this is what's changed here, if that's possible. But I would like for there to be some formulaic way for institutions to tell us so that we could get that in front of teams in a way that'll make the most sense to them. But yeah, I mean, it's picking up, deferring site visits while some institutions are probably thinking, yay, I get an extra year. It comes with a little extra work that will kind of come as we get closer to the site visits, I think.
The other piece to that action, that just reminded me that there was a clause that if an institution really, really, really wanted to have their site visit, this came at the commission table. The commission said, okay, we need to consider that. So we have asked the members of the green cohort to tell us by April 1st if that's going to be the case, so that at least we can plan. So that's also the other little piece. So there may be a handful of institutions that might want to move forward.
I just would like to restate that for all the people listening, April 1st, because so far we haven't heard from anyone. There were some institutions that said, what if we still want to have our site visit? Commissioners said, okay, well, let us know. That was, December or just prior to December for some of those comments, and we haven't heard anything. And we really need to be able to plan for those. So if you're out there, green cohort, please let us know by April 1st.
So I would just add that, to be honest, has not been even a conversation that any of us have been having. Again, probably missed it in the midst of everything. So thank you.
You're welcome. And it is depending on where you are in your institution's pecking order, sometimes those correspondences go out to folks that are called, your accreditation contact in the ADS. So we did try to send several things out so we could get at everybody.
And my understanding is we have the Kern folks available, so we can move to the next one and then come back to the staff.
Okay, so we're going back to number 20, right? Okay. Hi, Kern. Glad you're here. Okay, so item 20 is report of the accreditation team to Kern High School District. And consultant Jake Schuler will introduce this item, and joining him is team lead James Webb. Hi, James. And institutional representatives, Dr. Mark Balch, Director of Special Projects, Leanne Raditz, District Teacher on Special Assignment, and Laura Whipple, District Teacher on Special Assignment. Hi, everybody. Does anybody need to recuse themselves for Kern? All right, full house. Mr. Schuler, will you begin, please?
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, committee members. Good to see you in person. It's been a while, some of you, and others new faces, so good to see you in person. The Kern High School District site visit took place October 23rd through 25th, 2023. The visit was conducted entirely via Zoom. We had a total of 125 interviews conducted throughout the visit. And despite being entirely online, the site visit proceeded in accordance with all normal accreditation protocols. As Chair Tchaikovsky just stated, the team at Kern High School District was led by Dr. Mark Balch, Leanne Raditz, and Laura Whipple. Mark, Leanne, and Laura were fantastic to work with. Got to know them personally, got to know them professionally throughout the year. Actually did a 2-month out pre-visit down at the district as well. So that was nice to get to know them a bit and set a little context for the virtual visit. Also joining by Zoom is our team lead, James Webb. James was a joy to work with. Of course, worked with him many times before. It was great to be with James again. He actually stepped in about halfway through the year of planning and stepped up to help us out. So really appreciate all that work. And James was a fantastic leader throughout the process. Also like to thank our site visit team members, Kathy Fong and Janice Wilson, for contributing their time and expertise to the visit. I'll now stop here and turn it over to James, who will present the findings and the accreditation recommendation.
Thank you, Jake. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to see everyone here and also to be in this place to present the findings for the Kern High School District for you. First of all, I want to echo Mr. Schuler's gratitude towards Mark, Leanne, and Laura for their hard work and extensive preparation for this site visit. They were prepared, and it was clearly evident that they curated the evidence required for a successful site visit. Even if there were pieces of information that the team needed, they would work quickly to provide us with access. I also want to thank the other team members of our site team, as Jake did, Janice Wilson and Kathy Fong, who worked before and during the site visit with excellent attention to detail and gathering of all the evidence that was needed to produce a thorough and complete report of the induction program at Kern. So the induction program, the Kern High Induction Program, or KHIP, is housed within the Instruction Division of the Kern High School District. Its foundation is built on a strong mentor support system and the achievement of individualized candidate goals and growth in professional practice is at the heart of the program. All the stakeholder groups that we interviewed during this visit expressed very high regard and appreciation for the induction program, with many stakeholders commenting on the responsiveness of the program, as well as how the work of induction was real and connected with their job responsibilities. The work of induction is based on the development of the ILP, which guides candidate reflection and development of the effective practices in the classroom. Interviews conducted across all levels communicated the common objective of developing, sustaining, and retaining qualified teachers in their district, and candidates enthusiastically spoke of their appreciation for the support that their mentors provided. Through the inquiry process set up by the program, mentors support the candidates' practice of reflection on the efficacy of instruction, analysis of student work, and the use of these data points to further inform the repeated cycle of planning and instruction. The induction team has worked hard to maintain a consistent experience for new teachers, despite district leadership changes and additional duties supporting pre-interns and interns. Despite the strong support of mentors and new teachers, there were two areas of concern, which has been written into the report for Common Standard 4 and Induction Standard 5. While a process exists for candidates to share concerns about their mentors and/or other program elements, there was not evidence to demonstrate that there is an appeal process for candidates should the need arise, excuse me. The second concern was the inconsistency of program leadership's ability to, quote, systematically and regularly analyze evidence of program effectiveness from stakeholder and program completer surveys to improve its program and services for new teachers with unit leadership, which would limit the continuous program improvement required in Common Standard 4. Therefore, it was the unanimous decision of the team to find Common Standard 4 as met with concerns and Induction Program Standard 5 also as met with concerns. All other common standards and program standards were fully met. Given the preponderance of the evidence and the decision of the site visit team, it is recommended to the Committee on Accreditation that Kern High School District's induction program be granted accreditation with a 7th-year report so that the team at Kern can provide evidence in those two areas. I would like to add that it was extremely evident that the team plans to put solid practices into place that will make this 7th-year report both comprehensive and satisfactory to meet all standards for the induction program. I'll turn it now back to my colleague, Mr. Jake Schuler, who can introduce the team from Kern and take any questions that you may have.
Thanks, James. So if the COA agrees with the recommendation, I would be working with the institution throughout the year on that 7th year report. I think that's all we need to cover. I'll turn it back over to the committee and over to Kern High School District.
All right, institutional representatives, now's your chance to share some thoughts with us. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Mark Balch, and I am the Director of Special Projects. And I have the pleasure of working every day with Leanne Raditz and Laura Whipple, who are on this call, who have been very experienced in building and continuing and running a very strong induction program. We worked really hard to make sure that we were prepared for the visit, and I just wanted to say thank you to Mr. Webb, Mr. Schuler, Ms. Fong, and Ms. Wilson for their graciousness during the visit. There's no perfect program out there. We try to run as best a program as we possibly can, and we recognize that there are some areas where when an outside entity comes to view our program, that they can make some recommendations. And so in those two cases with Common Standard 4 and the other, we have taken those to heart very quickly, and we have already made significant strides in addressing those. We are just grateful to the commission for this opportunity to review our program, and look forward to any questions or advice that you may have.
Thank you. Ms. Whipple, Ms. Raditz, would you like to say something? I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to. I think you may be muted.
We're grateful. Thank you so much. We're really good, but we think Mark did a great job.
All right, thank you. Any members of the committee have questions or comments? I was going to ask one question. It seemed to me, since Mr. Balch, you said, advice, suggestions, etc., were welcome. It seems to me like one place where an appeals process and then information on a process of continuous improvement where that might intersect is in the transparency of your program, which kind of suggests that you're doing things. It just might not be visible to other people, and it might not be evident how you're collecting information from people, how you're listening to people, how you're responding to potential concerns that they have. So I guess a question I'd lob out to you now to either respond to or to think about is, in what way can you make those two areas of your program more transparent to all the participants? What are better ways to ensure that everything is clear to all your people?
I will answer that, and Laura and Leanne, I welcome any additions that you would like to provide. But I think what Mr. Webb was able to point out was he provided some evidence of some areas where some districts nearby have done that well. And so we've already met with their leaders. We have a very consistent process for meeting with leaders throughout the town, and we've incorporated some of their recommendations. It starts with just an appeals process on the website that we have, so that we can hear back from the candidates who may have questions. But more extensively, it involves some increased communication in and among all of the stakeholders, which is something that since the visit we've been able to immediately implement. Laura and Leanne are participating in an increased way in some of the committee meetings that we have. They're more engaged with our district superintendency, and we're able to, on our trainings, we had just 2 yesterday, we're able to be reflective with them based upon the feedback that our lead mentors provide, and after looking at data, and based upon the feedback that our leaders in the district, the superintendency, provides, so that really we're moving closer and closer to that cycle of continuous improvement, where we're able to constantly refine our program to meet the needs of all of our teachers. I had heard before we came on as a group, you had said, made the comment, what students know and will be able to do, and how teachers are prepared to move students to the next level. And I thought that's such a great quote. We are constantly having to adjust to the needs of our students and the needs of our teachers. And Laura and Leanne are doing a fabulous job of listening, so that they can adjust their program to meet the needs as teachers face different challenges in the classroom. And I think what we've learned from the visit is that we have to share that data more systemically, so that all levels of this organization can work together towards that common goal.
Yeah, thank you. That's no simple trick, I might comment. I don't think it's that easy.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I very much appreciate Mr. Webb and Mr. Schuler in particular, because they saw that and they were very gracious in how they shared that. And we've received it with welcome arms to say, here's a change that we can make that'll make the experience better for our teachers. And we're probably chest deep in making that change system wide, which is, we're a pretty big ship as a Kern High School district, and sometimes ships turn slow. And in this case, it's not. It's moving very quickly to share data systemically.
I was thinking more like water polo, like you're about to like score the goal, your chest deep, right? That's what I was thinking. Close to
Water
the
polo
cage.
is only 1 year old in the Kern High School district, so we're still learning on that.
That's awesome. See? All right, cool. Yes, sir, Mr. Cervantes.
Yeah, no, commending you on your efforts. I was particularly curious on the super mentor structure. Seems like you got folks that get deployed to several school sites.
Hey,
and
look, he's
so
playing
forth.
polo there. Did you see that? He went
Yeah,
like
yeah,
this.
Um,
Sorry.
but I guess I was just wondering the development and the training of these super mentors, because you're asking them to do, in my opinion, something that's multi-layered and comprehensive, by not just going to the sites and providing that general mentoring, but of course aligning them to standards and making sure they're also stewards of what it means. We've been talking about how we build mentorship communities, and in reading Super Mentor, I'm thinking there's this person that has additional assets, powers, if you will, and is able to get a lot more done. If you all can share a little bit more about what that looks like, and perhaps how we can continue to learn from that.
Well, I'll speak to it very briefly in that I'm relatively new to the program with Laura and Leanne, having come from a school site. They'll be able to give you the background on that, but I will give you my experience, which is that in a program as big as ours, we've got to facilitate communication, and we've got to have some structure so that communication can flow smoothly throughout the process. We do get to work with those super mentors on a very frequent basis, and I find it a joy every time we get to meet. Laura and Leanne, would you like to talk about the development of that?
I'll speak to that. So years ago, it was brought to our attention that it's really important in a program like ours to not have one person or two people making all the decisions for everyone. So we decided to convene kind of an advisory group of mentors. We in our program have currently about 130, 135 mentors because we're a very large district. So we took applications for mentors who were interested in doing extra by becoming what we called initially super mentors. So these are mentors who already are full-time teachers and already are mentoring in our program, their own candidates. And then on top of that, these are people who have been convened to be basically an advisory board of mentors We meet with them monthly to get their input from reports from the field, things they're experiencing and the things that they're hearing. We do task with them with being kind of responsible for looking after the mentors at certain school sites, essentially mentoring the mentors, if you will. We do also have quite a large number of brand new mentors this year in our program. So the lead mentors have been particularly helpful in helping us look after the new mentors and answer some of the general mentoring questions that they have throughout the course of their time as mentors. So, and by the way, we thought the name Super Mentor was really awesome, and they actually asked if we could change their name. They wanted to be called the Lead Mentors instead. So, to be like technically correct, they are now called Lead Mentors in our district. But we found it to be very helpful to us as a program because they see things through a lens that we, even though we're teachers, we're not in the classroom anymore and we're not directly mentoring anymore. So they are able to offer consistently a different lens for us to view things through. And I think it's brought about improvement and change to our program that benefits everybody.
Can I just follow up on that? Because at the last commission meeting, where Coach Herfrelli and I presented, there was conversation around, again, coming back to this idea of, the overworked mentor who has teaching and mentoring and now super mentoring, right? It's like the third derivative of like quality instruction. But it obviously sounds like you found some people who A, want to do it, B, are doing great. The commissioners were discussing the potential utility of a additional credential or some type of formal acknowledgement of mentor status. Do you think that would help or align with this idea of empowering teachers to be leaders of their peers? What is your thought about that? Would that be a good step to advocate for at the state level, like a supplemental authorization and mentoring or something? I mean, I don't know what it would be called, but that's what they were talking about. Jerry, do you want to say something about that? And then I'll turn it back to them.
Well, it's not exactly the same, but we do a similar thing in my district where, and it's with teachers, struggling teachers in the PAR program. And we use National Board Certified Teachers as that's the super credential, if you like. There are not many teachers in the districts who are National Board Certified, and they are given the title as mentor teachers.
So then, I mean, I guess the question would be like, are your folks national board certified? I mean, or maybe just to cut to the chase, because we have other items, of course, how would you identify the top 3 qualities of your super mentors, your lead mentors? What do they have that makes them great? And then what are your thoughts about having a supplemental authorization, if that would be an incentive or not for participants in your program?
Leanne, would you like to comment on that?
I'm just going to say, this is my 34th year in education, and I was in a classroom all but the last 5 years. And I know from my years and years and years of mentoring that just because someone's credentialed in a content area doesn't make them necessarily a good mentor. So I don't know, just because someone's received national board certification, if that means that they have the skills and the ability and the temperament to walk side by side with a candidate as they are experiencing their first few years of teaching and clearing their teaching credential, because there's so much more involved. And our mentors, our super mentors at the time, we first asked for those who were interested, and from there we were able to look at the pool of candidates from our mentorship pool that were interested. And Laura and I spent some time talking with our director at that time and our governing body, the Joint Committee, in terms of what the job of these people would be. And when we were thinking about these things, we were thinking about not just that they were great mentors in what we were able to see in their work with their candidates, and as we survey our candidates and they talk about their mentors and the way their mentors have worked with them. So not only were these people praised by their candidates, but these were also people who offered diverse perspectives throughout our district. We looked very carefully to make sure we had special education representation. We also provide support to our candidates who are trying to clear their CTE teaching credential. So we have CTE mentors. So we also have a representation on that committee from a CTE mentor. So that way we got this broad perspective from around our district, from the different credentialing areas. And I couldn't really give you the top 3 qualities because there's, as we all know, mentoring, the ability to, I think the most important thing is the ability to be flexible with your candidate and meet your candidate where your candidate is when they come in. And that's not easily quantifiable. I wish I could give you a magic bullet list, but I really can't. And I find this interesting, this idea of an extra authorization, that as a teacher, that might have been something. I am interested in mentoring, obviously. I spent a lot of time mentoring when I was a classroom teacher, and that would have been something that I probably would have looked to attain, would have been something like that. So I would have found that interesting because I'm interested in this work. And we've been talking a lot about teacher leadership in our district and how do we encourage teacher leadership. And there really is nothing in between being an administrator and being a teacher in terms of credentialing. So I think this is an interesting maybe step in that process to allow teachers to find a way to express their leadership in their profession that isn't administrative. So just my 2 cents.
Well, what a fantastic answer. Sorry to have judgment laden language, but I mean, as someone who was a teacher and then administrator, now teacher again, singing my song. That's very interesting. And then let's say your induction program is part of your collective bargaining agreement. If there is an authorization, then it could come with compensation, right? That's the incentive also, in addition to just having more letters behind your name, right? Thank you very much for that thoughtful response. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think what you're mentioning here is, it's quantitative and qualitative. And once all quantitative is equal, what makes the difference is qualitative. And sometimes you can't really measure that in any kind of a data spreadsheet. It really is getting to know, as you were mentioning, getting to know the individual, seeing how they interact. Their experience certainly helps, but it really is that contact and their ability to connect with the candidate and connect with one people around them. So having some kind of certification could have value. But again, all things being equal, once everybody has those letters behind their name, it really boils down to the individual and how they can connect with people. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. This is Commissioner Davis. I'm one of the folks that have been referred to here in that lengthy conversation, and also wouldn't necessarily call myself a super mentor, but I'm a mentor of the super mentors because I work with the National Board Resource Center at Stanford, and we prepare the largest amount of National Board certified teachers in the United States. And we actually have 2 national programs embedded in one program, and I'm one of the lead facilitators for the BIPOC cohorts that we have here in the state of California, funded in a partnership through CTA and NEA. And I'm going to push back just a little bit about not having something between the structure of having been an administrator myself, been a principal, and now a classroom teacher again, and back and forth with my toes dipped in both worlds, that I want to say that the recursive process of national board certification, once a candidate receives that certification, makes them a mentor. I'm going to just put that out there as 100% of the time when we have candidates who achieve national board certification, they've gotten over the hump of looking at themselves in the mirror and seeing the criticisms and being scared of those criticisms. And that is what we need in our mentors. We need people to model that for our teachers so they're not afraid to change, so that they don't stay stagnant in the profession, and that they model for their students and for their peers that it's okay to make mistakes and that we learn through that failure. So there are people between administration and teaching and credentialing in that area who actually have a master credential, if you will, or a certification kind of in the middle there, who would be ideal candidates. And I agree with our co-chair and some of those observations that she's made, through some other programs that should be a possible consideration if you are going to pick your mentors, that might be one of the qualifiers for your PAR professionals, because I've been a PAR mentor too for like 10 years. And one of the assets that I brought to bear in that process was the recursive process. If you can look at yourself and you can say to yourself that this is great teaching, or this is a great ideal situation for your students, then we're good to go. But if you look at it the way we are looking at it, very objectively, if you can step outside of your ego and then look at that differently, that's what makes a great teacher. So just wanted to put those comments out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I'm gonna chime back in.
Yeah,
I'll just
please.
add, if I could just interject, I became
Sure.
nationally board certified in 2009, so I'm familiar with the national board certification process. And I think that's a very interesting kind of line of thinking. In our district in particular, we're very few and far between, those of us who have our national board certification. So that's not really something that's fully, I think, caught on here within our district. So I think that's an interesting line of thinking.
Just a comment I was going to say, Commissioner Davis, is many things that you say just spark the interest, but I heard you say reflection, right? Self-reflection, looking at the mirror, being willing to make that development, and then modeling. And I think all of that really contributes to making a good mentor. So thanks for adding that. We appreciate that.
Well, isn't that what makes you a learner too? I mean, hello, if you're going to learn, you have to step outside yourself, whether you're fifth grade or, old in the tooth, like at least one of us. I wasn't looking at you. I was looking in the mirror, Bob, looking in the mirror. Okay, cool. Well, thank you very much. Wow. Super interesting conversation in a giant district. Good on you people. 130 mentors or something like that. That's nuts. This is an action item. Do I have a motion? Yeah, Ms. Gracia.
Okay, so I move that we accept the team's report with accreditation, with a recommendation of accreditation with a 7-year report for the Kern High School District.
Seconded by Member McKee. All in favor? Aye. All right. Congratulations, people. We get to see you again. Well, we get to hear from you again a year from now, learn a little bit more about two little induction things. Thank you for being here with us and for your advocacy of your peers, clear respect for colleagues, and leadership in bright times. Thank you, everybody. Dr. Balch, Ms. Raditz, Ms. Whipple, Mr. Webb, and Mr. Schuler.
James, good to see you again. Jake, did you bring pictures of your daughter?
Too.
Yeah. Okay.
Picture. Are you off task? Member Fraley, what are you talking about? Okay.
Oh, is it that old now? Oh, yeah. Oh, got it.
Oh my God, there's more than one.
Right. No, he used to have on the Facebook page.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Kern. Okay, so we're going to move to
21, real quick.
21, right? And then I guess we'll go back and we'll see if there's any little bits of 22 that are left. See, I can do this, a chronological order. All right, we're going to talk about the revision to accreditation decision guidance chart in the accreditation handbook. And Administrator Cheryl Hickey will introduce the item, and it is an action item.
Yes.
Ms. Hickey.
This should be very quick. This is in the category of how in the world did this happen? So there we discovered as we were getting ready for our team lead refresher training this year that there was an error on this chart that talked about 6 or more common standards when we only have 5 common standards. So we are just asking for your approval to fix the chart. We want, I would like it a formal notion. So we are suggesting we fix the 2 little areas on that chart. There is one that says in the chart on page, what is it? Page 2. It says if you have 5 or 6 met with concerns, and certain check marks, or 6 or more. So just eliminating the reference to 6 because there is only 5.
I think we should leave it there just to show you that you
Just to
are
see that you read.
once in 100 years.
Yes.
No.
I move that we change the 6 to a 5.
All right. Thank you.
Seconded by Member Taylor. All in favor?
All
You
right.
got it, Miss Hickey.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Embarrassing things. I'm like,
That was easy.
What were we thinking? All right. So back to staff report.
What, typos? You can't imagine something like that happening here?
All right. We were going to go back to staff reports, and I think Erin has a couple more.
Yay.
Yes, thank you. Okay, where is my note? I wanted also to mention, following the release of the governor's budget on January 9th, I could have that wrong, it might have been the 10th, but right around there. State agencies received direction from the Department of Finance to, I will say, severely limit our travel as part of cost savings for the state. So what we've been told is, and basically, unless it's mission critical, we're not to do it. So some of the things that staff normally engages in, for instance, the upcoming induction conference, we usually send some consultants to that. They're trying to find out right now if they can participate virtually, so we can still do that. Some other things that may come up, again, conferences that we normally appear at, we're trying to find out if we could do those things virtually. So that's a big change for us. It's not unusual that we're asked to do this. It's just been a while since the state's had a budget deficit like this. It also caused us to, we had a handful, this is where I got the 5 earlier. We had 5 site visits this spring that we were going to do in person, and we pulled those back and pivoted those to virtual site visits. So, I mean, the good news is we're very adept at doing really robust site visits virtually. And our consultants are really skilled at talking to institutions about having to switch those things over to a new platform. So we're not concerned about effects to the institutions for the site visits, but it's unfortunate. As you heard, even some of our team leads mentioned today, they're sorry to not be able to do the visits in person. I know that we were looking forward to that and the institutions were as well, but those are some changes that have occurred for us for travel, at least for the remainder of this fiscal year. Things could change after July 1, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Okay. Kara, did you want to talk about is it called
Sounds
Delphi?
like that might have been a
I still
Bagley
can't
Keene kind of opening thing, but we're talking about that
Yes, we'll
tomorrow,
talk about
right?
that. No, I was planning on talking about it here in a sec.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is for COA member Hillis. You're so welcome. The request for application for the Diverse Education Leaders Pipeline Initiative Grant Program is now open. Woo-woo. Applications are due April 5th, sometime mid-February. If interested party institutions, eligible institutions are interested in applying, they can send us an intent to apply. And we're currently taking questions. And you can access all this information on our website. So we're kind of excited. And we're predicting this one will be a pretty competitive application process because it's $10 million versus $350 million for teacher residency, plus more. So anyhow, get your applications in. We're very excited. We're looking forward to some really good work coming as a result of this grant program. And that's it from me.
That's really exciting. and we can't answer any specific questions because the whole field has to have the questions. All right, I was just going to mention a few things. The March meeting will be a one-day meeting. Just so we've kind of figured out what items are on there. So it's a one-day meeting. So it'll be the first day. What is that, March 21st? Is that right, Michelle? I think that's right. I will not be present. I'm taking my first ever spring break vacation, which I've never done before. Portugal. I know, I'm so excited. Yes, so I convinced my teacher husband to actually take a couple of days off, which is pretty hard. He's never done that either. So the other thing I want to mention, we mentioned it this morning, but we will be moving to the new building in May. On May 20th will be our first official day in the new building. And we will have any subsequent meetings at the new building. We're told that the meeting rooms are drastically different than this one. I'm not sure what that means. I think I need to actually see it. And we're hoping to be able to go over and tour the rooms. But there are apparently speakers everywhere on the floor, everywhere on the speakers apparently are amazing. That's what it sounds like. Yeah, so we will be touring it sometime in March after they finish all the fire protection inspections. So we'll be able to see what those meeting rooms look like and how we can have our meetings then. We continue to work on regulations that impact programs. So the bilingual regulations we hope are close, although while we're in this meeting, I got some questions from the attorney over at OAL, so we need to respond to those. And the PK3 regulations, we should be hearing, I'm hoping next week with whatever questions they have, because I think their deadline is early February. So, cross your fingers for that. And if they happen to approve the PK3 regulations, then we'll be able to move forward on some of the proposals that we are in the process of reviewing. So you may see those coming to you soon if they approve the regulations. I wanted to mention tomorrow's meeting has the literacy certification as the first item. I was hoping to have the PSA program sponsor alert out on that before now. But that's not going to happen. It's still in the review process. So we could either start tomorrow at 8:45 or start at 8:30 and move things up. It's up to you how you want to do it. We'll just let institutions know to be a little early tomorrow morning if that's what you want to do. So
I guess a question with I'm sorry to jump in. I was just making flights. What people's flights time?
I'm looking around 2.
What do you think? I'm sorry. What time are you thinking that we'd be done tomorrow?
It's hard to say. I never can tell how long it takes you to discuss things, but sure. Certainly you should be done by no later than noon.
Oh, okay.
Let's start at 8:45.
8:45? Okay.
What do you think? Anybody opposed to that? 8:45 tomorrow?
Yes, that's what I'm, because the item tomorrow at 8:30 is not available to, and I don't want to talk too much about it in case leadership makes some changes. So then we may have some, I don't want misinformation out there, but it should be, for those of you looking for this, it should be out soon. So we're really working. This is the literacy certification as a result of SB 488. And then lastly, the Bagley Key. So those of you who looked at your CTC email box got an email from me this week about the new Bagley Keen rules. And I just want to give a chance to talk about those a little bit. And I had it up here so I can have it in front of me. There are, where to go? So there are essentially, did everybody receive that? Okay, great. There are essentially two options. And the first is like the old Bagley-Keene Act, which is that when you have a meeting, a teleconference meeting, we have to notice every place that each one of you is at. So if you're at home, your home address goes on the meeting notice and you have to allow the public there. So there's some liability and risk involved in that. I think the pandemic really taught the legislators how we could adjust to a virtual environment. And so they went back and they thought about the Bagley-Keene Act in light of what we know now and our technological ability to run public meetings. And the fact that it's made it easier in some respects for the public to join in. So this new law is effective until 2026. The commission and the COC and the COA are all considered public bodies here at the commission. And so the option 2 is really the one we're looking at. And option 2 allows us to have some of you participate remotely as long as certain conditions are met. And one of those conditions is we have a majority of the quorum here in the room. So we have to have at least 7 members here present in person. Then it allows the rest of you to participate from afar from the video without having to notice your home address or whatever. So it does help in that respect. There are other things that if you are participating remotely, you have to do. For instance, if you have anybody in the room with you over the age of 18, you have to disclose that so that people know who is listening, who's part of the discussion. You have to have your camera on. You cannot participate if your camera is off. There are some situations if you lose connectivity and that kind of thing. So there's all sorts of other things. So the biggest thing, I think it allows us to have some flexibility, but it also creates an issue if more than the quorum wants to participate remotely. And then what do we do? So we have that issue to kind of deal with. I think generally we want to participate in person, but certainly I think it's really helpful, if somebody is sick, but not so sick that they can't participate, they can participate from home, those kinds of things, or you break a leg or whatever. But I think the chair, the chairs, I talked to them about just making sure that we have an understanding of how we're going to work in the future. Should there be more people than not that want to participate remotely, because we have to have a quorum in the building. So I don't know if you want. It's 1 more than half, so 7. Mm-hmm. Yep. Physically here in the building at what they call headquarters in the law. So wherever your headquarters are, and ours are here. I don't know the answer to that. Sauce. I don't know. I suspect it was a compromise reached as people were negotiating the bill.
I think as we were discussing this, as Cheryl was saying, something could always come up, right, in the last minute. So the worst situation would be if we are running low on a quorum. Let's say we have 7 people who are already planning to be here, and everybody's flying in, and one person doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Then you are all here, and we can't have a meeting. So I think that's one of the greatest concerns. I don't think there's any thought that any committee members, I know you too well, there's no way you're going to just say, I'm going to phone it in from the beach somewhere. You want to be here because you recognize this is what we do, right? We interact together. This is how we get stuff done and see the expressions. Yeah, right. Exactly. But the point is that we know that everybody wants to be here. That's beyond the question of doubt. We just want to be certain that planning down the road, that it doesn't put them in a position, the staff here, where a lot of money is put out for the flights that can no longer be recouped, and then we're all here and people are inconvenienced. And again, things will happen, definitely. But I think it's just planning well enough in advance and committing if possible. Yeah.
Can I ask, does the quorum need to just be for the overall meeting? What happens with recusals? Could we not?
That's a really good question. I think that's a good question that I need to get some follow-up on and dig in. I know there's a difference between abstention and recusals in terms of how it's counted. And right off the top of my head, I can't remember. One is counted towards the quorum, one isn't, and I can never remember that. I don't know if you remember.
Abstentions count as part of the quorum because
Okay.
the person is here. They're just abstaining from the vote.
Okay.
Yeah.
But recusals might not. So if somebody recuses themselves, then I think yeah, that's probably the case.
We have it in our notes.
Yeah, we do.
Just it doesn't happen that often.
But thank you for asking that so we know. Because that's also another consideration. We would have to at least have a buffer of a couple of people because, yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it just makes it much more meaningful as
Mhm.
we're all here. And historically, we've run pretty good numbers.
Mhm.
I mean, getting down to 7, I think it's been very rare.
Yeah.
Having people here.
That's very true.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just because the conversation came up, we, and by we, I mean, Michelle's our first line of defense on this, are always carefully tracking who's coming, but also if you have any recusals or abstentions. So if you know in advance when you're looking at the agenda that you're going to recuse or abstain from a vote, if you can let us know before the meeting so that we can, again, count heads and make sure that we're going to have, because we did have at least one situation, I think last year, where we had to put off a vote.
Mhm.
So we heard the item, but because we found at the last minute that we didn't have a quorum, we couldn't actually vote. So we had to bring it back for a vote. So just let us know if you just look at that agenda and you know you're going to recuse or abstain.
Yeah, that's helpful.
While I have the floor momentarily, I will just say, I'll call your attention to the fact that we have a commission meeting also in 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and that agenda will be posted on Friday. And there's a couple of items there that I think you all, and by you, I mean also the field of folks just like you, will be very interested in. One of them, I think we're feeling pretty celebratory about, which is the revised CSTP
Mhm.
will finally be going before the commission. And I think it's kind of the revised CSTP at this point because
Yeah.
they did their work and then, complications related to COVID put that off. So it needed to be just looked at again to make sure it was as fresh as possible. But I think Kara and Karen Sacramento are pretty excited to finally be able to present that. So we're looking forward to that update. And then Cheryl alluded to something earlier that will affect ed prep programs potentially, which is taking a look at what point is subject matter met enough for for that final student teaching placement. So what we have right now is in place is something that's unofficially considered a 4/5 rule, which we hate calling it that. So we're going to call it the 80% rule. But, looking at that, especially in light of ITEP programs, right, where you need to get them in their student teaching, but, when do they have subject matter? So that'll be a really good conversation. I don't know if there's any other, those are the two that are top of my brain.
And lots of kudos to Kara for the CSTP work and Karen Sacramento for working with the field on that. They are. Yep. Yeah. It's a movie. Let's see. The only other one was from last time, which is related to the TPA, and there's a PSA coming out about that allows candidates to move forward and be recommended for a credential if they have scored within one negative one SEM. Did I say that right?
Yeah, I actually want to flip that sentence around a little
thank
bit. So
you.
if there's
I'm sure
candidates listening, they don't think it's up to them. So what it does is it gives programs the authority or the ability to evaluate any candidate that fails to pass the TPA within a -1 standard error of measure. The program could then look at that candidate's performance in other areas, documented evidence that they have, and could make a decision that this candidate does qualify and recommend them anyway.
Right.
So that's pretty big. It's not really in place yet, I would say, only because we need to get some guidance out to the field. So we've all of it, among other PSAs that we've been looking at. So at some point, you're all going to get flooded with program sponsor alerts, but we've been reviewing a program sponsor alert on that as well. So that's going to be an exciting change. Now, I will, let me add the caveat too. Those candidates need to be currently enrolled in your program. And Commissioner Davis was there. So if you'd like to add something.
And that magic word remediation was mentioned around the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so that PSA is being finalized and some of the details around what documentation you might need and those kinds of things are being finalized at the moment. So
Maybe I should know the answer to this question, but what's the latest with the RICA?
So the literacy performance, so RICA will go away in 2025. It will be replaced by a literacy performance assessment that is now currently being pilot tested, field tested, and in that whole process. And so, yeah, that's moving along. The certification process that we're having to do for next year with all programs is part of that, ensuring that programs have put in place the literacy standards in order to make sure candidates are given the content before they're having to take the literacy performance assessment. So it's all kind of linked together. But yes, that's still moving along.
I would just like to add, because occasionally we get questions about this, because candidates that were allowed to be recommended for their preliminary credentials without passage of TPA and RICA due to some COVID flexibilities, that TPA requirement has now been waived within certain parameters, right? And now there are some candidates apparently out there, I'm sure you're all shocked, who are thinking that the same might happen with RICA. So they're putting off taking RICA. I would just say that given the climate, given the focus around the importance of teaching reading and teaching literacy, we have no reason to expect that RICA is going to go away. It's going to get replaced with the literacy performance assessment, but there's no reason for any of us dealing with this politically or in the education world to think that an assessment of reading competency is going to go away. So if you have candidates in your program who are holding out, get them to take the RICA because they've been prepped for RICA. If they get to a point where they have to take the literacy performance assessment, that might be a harder hill for them to scale. I don't know where I was going with that, but they won't, it could be difficult. So just,
and on top of that, the fee waiver goes away next year, or
That's
it's
true.
supposed
Yep.
to go away.
Right now, yeah, they can
Right
keep
now they
taking
can
it for
take
free.
So,
Member McKee?
Go ahead. Yeah, come on, Kara. Yes.
All right, Kara, and then we'll have Patrick.
Also, if individuals register before the end of June 30th, 2024, they have a year to take their exam. So they can still take exams, RICA, for example, in the 24-25 school year.
Okay.
And for free, they just have to register
register.
before June 30th.
Okay.
2024.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's for the fee waiver deadline.
Good. Thank you.
Can I bring us back to TPA for a minute? And I shared this with Zoltan as well. TPA, the Senate bill is not gone away. We're getting candidates now, and I just pulled in my email that July 1st, 2025 is where induction and the TPA go together. So July 2nd, 2025, and we're enrolling candidates right now who will not complete induction until December of 2025. So I just throw out there whatever voices are available to take a look at the Senate bill. If the Senate bill had been written until August 31st, 2027, we would have covered everybody. But the Senate bill was written until July 1st, 2025. So if anyone's enrolling in induction right now, they still have to take the TPA. So that brought my attention here because we're talking about the TPA with induction might be to the side, but no, it's actually back to the forefront again for induction programs.
Which bill are you referring to?
Bill where if they complete induction by July 1st, 2025, they don't have to take the TPA if they're on the executive order.
Okay. Okay.
It is what I was referencing, and I think those dates aren't quite right. So I would have to
You have the bill number? Is it?
Well, it's he's
it's
talking
the same
about
one. Okay.
he's talking about the COVID flexibilities
Okay.
that allowed them to and then that waiver of the TPA. So
So is that, and if I'm incorrect on dates, if there's anyone out there in the world,
Okay,
my
well-
apologies in advance. But what we have looked at as actually real world candidates that they will complete induction right now in December of 2025, right? But they still have real life candidates still have to take the TPA. That's exhaust on July 1st, 2025. So that means the currently enrolled candidates on a mid-year cohort will have to take the TPA. It's not waived. So there are real people out there. Maybe the dates might be incorrect, but there's a real TPA thing coming that we're noticing is coming back to the forefront, that unless that Senate bill of the TPA induction Senate bill, I don't know the number of it, gets postponed or extended out.
Okay. And you said you've talked to Zoltan about this. Okay, so maybe we'll touch bases with Zoltan and follow up on that.
That would be fantastic, because
I don't know
that's
what
kind of
we-
our worry here. So do we, in the induction world, are we still preparing candidates in induction for the TPA? Because it kind of went by, oh, good, we don't need to anymore. But like, oh, wait, do we need to now? So there's kind of been this, and that's through our LA region. I know we've had the conversations, and if we're wrong, we would be very happy to know that we're incorrect and that these people are good to go. So full disclaimer on that.
Can I chime in? I just want to chime in on the TPA back to what Aaron was, and also what Patrick has. I work as the music lead for Cycle 1 and 2 of TPA. And so we always have our bi-weekly meetings that we discuss this, and we've talked a lot about this. The last meeting on Monday, we talked about what Aaron was referencing as far as having 1 point below considered passing, and that it then passes on to the program to make that determination with support from the CTC. But my understanding is we've had the discussions is that the fee structure is, as long as somebody has applied for the TPA by June 30th of 2024, they can have until June 2025 to complete it without the cost, but they have to have applied for it by June 30, 2024. At least that was my understanding. I don't know if Zoltan's listening. And
No, that's what, I think that's what Kara.
I thought,
Kara
I
was
thought,
saying.
yeah, that's what I thought I heard Kara say as well. So that was that's kind of what I had understood from those meetings, but.
Good to know. Good. I think that might be it on my list. Oh, COA nominations. Yes, thank you. I thought you were talking about chair and co-chair, so now I understand. So yeah, we have 2 positions opening, and the applications are due February 28th or something. So 1 higher ed, 1 for K-12, I believe. So if you know anybody who's interested in serving on this committee, those applications are on our website. Yep. And usually what happens then is the commission interviews in April. There are no points in April. So for COA, yes. That is it, I think, that I can think of at the moment. Happy to answer any questions if you have anything on any topics.
Well, that's officially the last agenda item on Thursday's list. So I guess what we'll do is we're going to reconvene tomorrow at 8:45 and we'll adjourn the meeting today.
Yep. Sounds good.
Thank you all for being here. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.